Gold and Blue Dude here with you again. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I make videos every single day, sometimes multiple videos, depending on how active the day is or what kind of mood I'm in. So if you don't like this video, maybe you'll like one of my other videos. And like I said earlier, this is an active day. This is already my second video for today. Now earlier today there was a lot of YouTubers, a lot of news outlets reporting that the Big Ten has voted not to have the college football season. That is incorrect. Having said that, it's still looking like a real possibility that it could happen within the next 24 to 48 hours. But as far as right now, no, that decision has not been made. So you can thank the Detroit Free Press for starting that garbage, because that's false news. It didn't happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It actually looks like it will, but it's not a done deal yet. And yesterday's meeting, by the way, was not an emergency meeting. It was a regularly scheduled meeting. Did they talk about emergency stuff? Probably, but it wasn't, quote, an emergency meeting. So now we move on to the We Want to Play movement, and I am loving it. A lot of players, even coaches, are getting involved. And the coaches have clearly stated this was a player thing. We did not encourage them. The athletic director didn't encourage them. The presidents didn't encourage them. This was a player's decision. So I'm going to go through and list some of the players. I'm not going to list all of them because that would take forever. So there's a lot of high-profile names that are in this movement and a lot of other names as well. Now, for the record, pretty much the entire West Virginia team is behind this movement. So, besides the West Virginia players, we have Spencer Rattler, incoming freshman from Oklahoma. He's a part of it. Of course, we know Trevor Lawrence. He's probably the biggest part of this. He is definitely advocating. He's a junior. Justin Fields, Ohio State, right with Trevor Lawrence. And they played each other last year, so, this is a big deal. Kedon Slovis, and a highly touted quarterback out of USC. He's behind it. Chip Lindsey says the entire Troy football team is behind it. Of course, our coach, Neil Brown, says the entire team is behind this. And the players that don't want to play are allowed to opt out. They aren't being forced. Ryan Day, Ohio State head coach, behind this movement. James Franklin, head coach at Penn State, behind this movement. Justin Burrow, I know, he's not a college football player anymore from LSU, but he stated, if this would have happened last year, their magical season wouldn't have happened if they would have decided not to play football. There's a lot more on the line than people realize. This would help some people. This would discourage more people, but Donald Trump, he's behind this. Will Freeze, another student athlete, Penn State, behind it. Head coach at Nebraska, Scott Frost, behind this movement. We have a lot of coaches and a ton of players behind this movement. Now, the Big 12 commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, because the Big 12 is one of those that is being considered on the fence in case the Big 10 and the Pac-12 do decide to cancel. He said, there's no immediate movement for the Big 12 conference to shut down the 2020 football season. So that helps with my confidence a little bit. But it really still, it still concerns me if the Big 10 and Pac-12 were to do this, because it's easier to make that decision if another person makes that decision. So now I want to talk about our coach real quick, head coach Neil Brown. And I want to go on record right now to say I am so freaking proud that he is our head football coach. He is an amazing individual. He's smart, intelligent, and he makes awesome decisions. He had a press conference today, and I took a few things out of the press conference. I'm not necessarily quoting him, but these are the type of things that he said. People are concerned about the practices, being in close proximity. Well, the way West Virginia is running it is they're running isolation practices. In other words, only whoever is involved in that group is together. It's not an entire team thing. They get breaks, and they're only together between 10 and 15 minutes at a time. Then they spread apart after that drill. Everything is arrowed. Like you see at Walmart, same thing. 6 feet between equipment for each player. He says players know the risks involved, and they know that there can be long-term effects, even if you don't know what those long-term effects are if you contract the virus. Now, like I said before, players are the ones that came up with this movement. That's 100%. Another thing he said we need football. They are making the environment as safe as possible because everybody does realize how serious this virus is. I know the biggest thing is long-term effects, and that's unknown, but we do realize it could be bad. So he's also giving his players opportunity. Players are asking questions. They're educating themselves, and they're educating others about the risks involved in playing, testing, all the time. Exactly the same protocols are as similar as possible when they're playing other Big 12 teams. They're all talking together. He also goes on to say, resolve is a must in this situation. It's not just always about folding. We have to figure it out. Here's a big thing that he said. Football guarantees testing once or twice a week. Not playing football wouldn't allow for that. It just wouldn't happen. So that actually leans in the direction that playing football might actually be safer because you're getting tested more. And your risk isn't higher than normal society. There are high safety protocols in college football, higher than, quote, normal society. The big thing is leaving it up to the players. If the players aren't comfortable with the safety protocols, they more than definitely can opt out. Now, a thing that West Virginia is doing, I don't know if it's just West Virginia, but if it is, then listen up, other teams, this is a good idea. They are using GPS tracking devices to determine how much they are in close contact with other people and for how long. And then they go back and look through the data and try to adjust things. One of the biggest questions about, not playing in the fall or pushing it to the spring or not playing at all is players want to maximize their 4 years of eligibility. And that includes if spring becomes an option. The big question he asked that I've been saying to the NCAA long time ago is, what is the plan if we don't play? Because here's the thing, the NCAA did not have a plan when all this first started. And that's why we're in this situation. So, now if these conferences decide not to play, they actually need a plan first because it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again. Somebody needs to come up with a play. Giving up isn't a plan. That is not a plan. That's giving up. You have to trial and error, and everybody knows the risks involved. Now, we don't know the long-term effects, like I said, but people realize how serious this thing is. We know it's serious. We know it's new. It's a novel virus, and the long-term effects are unknown. We all get that. But if you have a plan, you're more than likely going to be able to succeed than not having a plan and getting thrown into this situation. Another thing is, people don't realize, at West Virginia, I'm not sure about the other schools, in order to be able to play, players go through echocardiograms, cardio MRIs, because one of the big concerns is heart issues. So now, our university, and I hope other universities, are paying more attention to heart issues just in case. So, last thing, he said, taking these young men out of what they love, of what they've worked hard for, and what they want, and taking them out of a structured environment, what happens? They're in a structured environment. They're doing what they love. They're doing what they've worked hard for. You take them out of that, you're pretty much throwing them into chaos. So here's the thing. Is it safer to cancel college football altogether? I would actually say no. I think it would be safer to actually play college football. They're in a safer environment. There's more protocols. There's more safety precautions. There's more testing. Now, if you don't want to let the fans in, I totally get that. If you want to allow players to opt out, I totally get that too. But if you really think about it, playing football is actually safer than not allowing them to play. That's all I got for you today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time.